It's not Trump's war. It was Biden, and this was other people. Biden war. This is a Democrat war, not a Republican or Trump war. Russia. I'm not out. Not a very deadly war. They're all bad, but handling it very, very wrong. It's a shame. Yeah.
President Donald Trump is once again pointing the finger at President Joe Biden, this time over the war in Ukraine. In a newly released statement, Trump makes several bold claims about how the conflict started, who's responsible, and what he would have done differently. We'll break down what he said and examine the facts, the political messaging, and the context behind it all.
So we do good. The only one we haven't been able to get to yet is Russia. And I'm not happy.
Trump begins with a vague reference to international relations and quickly singles out Russia. It's clear from the start that he's setting up a narrative, that Russia's actions and the subsequent war in Ukraine were the result of failed leadership under Biden.
And I will tell you that Ukraine wants to do something. Again, it's a war that should have never started. If I were president, it never would have happened. I used to speak to President Putin about it a lot. It was the apple of his eye. But once I saw what was going on, I said, they're gonna have a war here. I was outside. The election was rigged. And I was outside looking in.
Let's keep going to hear how he builds his argument. This is one of Trump's most repeated lines, that the war never would have happened under his watch. It's a powerful claim, but it ignores the complex reality. The tensions between Russia and Ukraine long predated the Biden presidency. The annexation of Crimea happened in 2014 while Obama was president, and Trump was a private citizen. Still, Trump uses this moment to underline what he believes is a turning point, the 2020 election, which he continues to call rigged. That framing colors the rest of his argument.
Looking in, and I said, that thing's going to be a war. Couldn't believe it, because what Biden said was the exact opposite of what should have been said. And it started, and it's a real mess.
Trump claims that Biden's words escalated the situation. He doesn't say exactly what statements he's referring to, but it's clear he believes Biden mishandled diplomacy with Russia. What we know is that U.S. officials under both parties warned of a full-scale invasion well before it happened. Intelligence reports in late 2021 showed Russian troop buildup. Biden's administration responded with warnings and sanctions. Whether that deterred or provoked Moscow is still debated, but it's more complicated than a single speech.
I guess they're losing 5,000 or 6,000 people a day. It's actually now more. I was saying 5,000 a day. It's actually more now. Mostly soldiers, but a lot of people in cities and towns that are getting blown up to. It's a horrible war, and it should be stopped. And so
Trump's casualty estimate here is unusually high. Most war monitors suggest daily losses fluctuate and are generally much lower, in the hundreds, not thousands. Nonetheless, he emphasizes the human cost of war, including civilian deaths, which is a very real and tragic consequence of the ongoing conflict. The message here is powerful, but the numbers don't match known data.
An agreement in 50 days, that's what we're doing, secondary tariffs.
And I hope we don't get to the point where we do, but I've been hearing so much talk. It's all talk. It's all talk. And then missiles go into Kiev and kill 60 people. It's got to stop. It's got to stop. But the purpose of this is to say that this is a very big deal we've made. This is billions of dollars worth of military equipment is going to be purchased from the United States, going to NATO, etc., and that's going to be quickly distributed to the battlefield.
Trump appears to refer to secondary sanctions or tariffs against nations or companies doing business with Russia. It's unclear what exact agreement he's referring to, likely peace negotiations or arms funding decisions. He also highlights U.S. military equipment being sent to Ukraine. That's accurate. Under Biden, the U.S. has committed over $70 billion in military and humanitarian aid to Ukraine since 2022. Trump's concern seems focused not on the aid itself, but on the lack of resolution.
Ukraine will take it up.
Ukraine will take it up and, say what you want about Ukraine. I think it's a very short period of time. Don't forget, I've just really been involved in this for not very long, and it wasn't initial focus. This is a Biden war. This is a Democrat war.
Calling the Ukraine war a Democrat war marks a clear shift into partisan framing. But in reality, U.S. support for Ukraine has been bipartisan, with both Republican and Democratic lawmakers voting to send military and economic aid. Still, this type of rhetoric resonates with Trump's political base. It paints the conflict not as a geopolitical crisis, but as an extension of party politics at home.
When the final numbers come in, you're going to see a lot more.
When final numbers come in, you'll see many more people died than reported. It's a very deadly war. They're all bad, but this is very deadly. When an apartment comes down and they say 2 people were injured, no, many were killed, Those numbers will eventually be accurately reported. It's a deadly war. I think you're going to see strong movement. I hope so.
Trump questions the accuracy of casualty reporting, a legitimate concern in any war. Numbers are often revised after the fact. Independent journalists, local officials, and NGOs in Ukraine have confirmed that many attacks, especially in occupied areas, are undercounted. But Trump's tone here isn't investigative, it's accusatory. Again, he places blame squarely on Biden without acknowledging Russia's role as the aggressor.
What about the tariffs the Republicans in the House and Senate have? What a horrible job they did for this country. And between the border, this, inflation. What a horrible administration. The worst in history, in my opinion. Actually, not just mine. I think it's everybody's opinion. This shouldn't have happened.
In a twist, Trump goes after Republicans in Congress, blaming both parties for inflation, immigration, and foreign policy. This moment reveals his strategy: position himself as an outsider to both parties, even while leading the Republican presidential field. It's a classic populist appeal, portraying himself as the only one who could have prevented the chaos. Trump's comments are a blend of foreign policy commentary, personal grievance, and political messaging. Some claims are based on fact, others stretch or distort it. What remains true? The war in Ukraine is a deadly, ongoing crisis with deep international roots and no clear end in sight.
Subscribe for more verified political breakdowns. What do you think about Trump's claims?